Today I'm going to show you how to restring an acoustic guitar. And we're going to start with one of my students' guitars here today, and that'll give you a better idea on how to take care of this all by yourself. Okay, we have a Taylor guitar that needs restringing, and we are going to take out our tools. I was going to do this at home, but here I am in my studio. Got strings, I've got lemon oil, I've got my handy winder tool to save a bunch of time. Got my student's capo, which I don't need. What else? And I have a pair or set of cutters here. So cutters, lemon oil, strings, winding tool. And let's take the guitar out. Nice Taylor guitar. It's pretty ganky and dirty, so we'll clean it up. Let's get the case out of here. First thing we're going to do is remove the strings. So I'm going to loosen up the strings. It's a Taylor 200 series something or other. And take the cutters, hold the string on this side and cut that way. Somewhere about the 15th fret. Holding the string so they don't go flopping around. Now they're all cut. And I'm going to unwind the strings at the headstock. From thickest to thinnest, there's no right or wrong way here. Just unwinding and getting them off the guitar. Now you can see a lot, I don't know if you can see in the reflection, a lot of playtime on this instrument. The student plays often on this machine, and the fretboard is pretty gnarly with finger gum and playwear. So we're going to start by getting the strings off and then cleaning up the instrument before we proceed to restringing it. So that's those. Now I got to get these out of here, so I might go get another tool. I'm going to get another tool. I'll be right back. I'm going to get the bridge pins out of the guitar. Okay, I have returned with just a puller tool here, basic one, and going underneath each bridge pin and pulling it out, holding the bridge pin, putting it back in the same slot it came in. I like to do that. Put the bridge pin back in the same one. So I'm just basically prying this under the bridge pins. Older guitars, the stuff can get rough, or guitars that haven't had their strings changed in a while. These bridge pins are coming out nice and easy, which is a good thing. But sometimes this can be a struggle and not work so easily. As I hit one here that's a little tough on the B string, not too bad. And then the last one on the E string. These came off nice and easy. This is a newer guitar. Played a lot, but nothing's gummed up. And I'm going to take all the strings and get them out of here. Throw them in the garbage right away. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of water. Take a little bit of warm water and hit the base of this guitar wherever I see snots and whatever else is on here from playing. And clean up the face of the guitar under the strings. come back at it with some dry towels. Okay, now, since there's no strings in the headstock, I'm just going to take all the dust that gathers off out of that. I'm going to check to make sure that the hardware and the tuner nuts are on snug and tight enough, and there's one that's a little bit loose. If I can loosen them by hand, then I'm going to come back and snug them up. And I've got two of them, one for the B string and one for the A string, that are somewhat loose. The other ones, I'm going to come back and snug those up just a little bit. So when you're working on this stuff, you're not really tightening it up much, you're just tightening it up a little bit. So I'm going to hit every one, just a slight turn. The vibrations will loosen up the hardware on the guitar. So while we get the strings off, it's an ideal time to snug up everything that was originally snugged at the factory, most likely, because I don't think this guitar has ever had strings put on other than the originals. Or maybe this is the second set. But those are all a little bit loose. I turn them about a 1/16 of a turn. And after doing that, I'm going to check the other hardware on here. And then we have no screws on the back of the tuners. We have them on the side, but the tuners feel nice and snug, so I'm not even going to check those. They're not loose or wobbly or anything. The bridge pins all seem to be solid, and so I'm going to leave it at that. So as far as snugging goes, we had a couple loose things up on the headstock. Now it's time to get this nasty neck cleaned up. It's pretty dirty, and we're going to put some elbow grease into it. And first I'm going to hit it with a damp cloth. Not too heavy because I don't want too much water getting into the wood and around the frets, but pretty dirty, this neck. So I'm going to work it's getting the towel pretty nasty. So I'm going to hit each one of these frets. And after that, and these are all pretty nasty, I have to say. Oof, look at that. That is pretty gnarly. We're going to come at it. There's a lot of playtime on this instrument, and she's only had it for a year or so. She plays a lot. Ugh, man, it's coming up. The first thing I don't want to do is just hit it with lemon oil right away. I want to, especially with a guitar that's played this much, I'll just be rubbing the dirt into the lemon oil. But oh my gosh, this thing is dirty. Dirty. Really taking the crap out of these each fret. And then every time I hit that towel, it's really getting gnarly, which is just an indicator of somebody that loves the instrument and is playing it a lot. And it just keeps removing layers and levels of wow. But this student actually progressed so much, finger style and all kinds of great playing. There's only one way to do that, and that's to play a lot. So this is a pretty gnarly neck. I have to admit, this is a person that plays a lot. And that dirt just keeps coming off. And I'm using a little bit of elbow grease and really pushing down into the wood. And it is just coming off unbelievable. Let's take a look at this towel. It's pretty messed. Find another clean spot and go at it again. Wow. Again, just griming it up. At some point here, we're going to stop and start putting some oil into this. If it keeps coming up like that, we're going to keep taking off whatever dirt we can. And it's going. I'm almost ready for a new towel. This one is covered in finger grime. There's a nice fresh spot. I'm going to go for it a little harder now that I've taken off a couple layers, and I'm getting close to the frets as well. The frets have a little bit of pitting, but not crazy. Not very minor. So it doesn't really need any fret work. It just needs a good cleaning. So with this moist towel, I've gotten most of the grime off, and I'm going to come back at it here in a moment with some lemon oil. I'm going to go one more time at the other side of the neck, because if the fretboard is grimy, there's a good chance that the back of the neck is loaded with a bit of dirt as well, but not nearly as much as the fingerboard. And so a little bit on the back, but not nearly as much as we just got off the fingerboard. Using a little damp cloth with warm water. Okay, so now we've got a fretboard that looks a lot cleaner than when I just took the strings off. And we are going to hit it with some lemon oil. And any lemon oil that's meant for guitar will do. And we're letting some of the moisture dry off a little bit before we hit it with the lemon oil. Got a few more new towels here. Can you believe this? All that came off this neck. There you go, Lisa. Take a look at what came off your guitar. Congratulations, you are a certified player. You play a lot of guitar. Okay, we are going to put some fret lemon oil on the fretboard conditioner. I just like to do that. Just kind of drag it over, and then I'll work it into each fret. I'm going to make this into a little square, a rectangle, and condition the fretboard. Now, electric and acoustic guitars are a little bit different, and fretboards are a little bit different. What we have here, I believe, is a rosewood neck. Yeah, it's got to be rosewood. I don't think it's ebony. So you have rosewood, ebony, and maple neck caps. This rosewood and ebony, especially the rosewood, needs to get conditioned once a year. And here in the Midwest, where I'm at, outside of Chicago, absolutely minimum of once a year of this cleaning and oiling, because the wood will dry out and you'll have cracked fretboard. So it's pretty dry, so I'm going to come back at it with another blast and spread the oil wherever I see dry spots and work it into the wood. Make sure I get up along the frets as well. At the same time, we're going to be removing more of whatever remaining dirt is there on the board, or grime, finger goo. And then once we get this done, we can also go over to our bridge and saddle and condition that a little bit too. Trying to get little dry spots that I see here, things that I might have missed. A couple in here. Up here on this side. Lemon oil has a pretty good smell to it. Whenever you smell it, you think about playing guitar. Or times you played guitar, you open your case and you smell it. Okay, so now we are going to work our way down here. I'm going to take out the saddle if it comes out. If not, I'm going to pull these bridge pins and put them in an order they came out. 3, 4, 5, and 6. The saddle seems pretty stuck in there. I'm going to condition this up. But I want to see if I can get this out of here. Very careful with this little maneuver. There we go. Now I could go a couple steps further and tape off the body so this lemon oil don't hit the body, but I'm just carefully adding a little bit of moisture to it. I'm not going to splash it on there like I did with the fretboard. I'm going to put it on the towel, on a fresh part of the towel, and condition up this down here a little bit. Okay, so that's that. I'm noticing these frets are kind of oxidized, but we're not going to do any fret polishing today, although these things probably could use a bit of polishing. Maybe we'll come back at it next time and make another video. I'll tape off the board and get a very light grit sandpaper or even just my steel wool, and I would work it that way. So we're going to put this back together and make sure we got the right way. There we go. There it is. And we got our bridge pins all ready to go. We're going to open up our strings. And we've got a conditioned fretboard. And it's all cleaned up. Everything's tightened up. Now we're ready to string it. So this is a pack of 12 through 53 gauge, light gauge, acoustic strings. It's a personal preference what brands you use. These are color coded. So we're starting at the low E, which is gold yellow, and then A is red, D is black, the G string's green, B is purple, and then the E is like a silver. So we're going to start with the low E string. And open up the pack. It's got a nice little opening strip in there. We don't have to tear it open. Just going to pull all the strings out, and we're going to leave our codes up here. So our first code is gold. And so gold and red, the first two strings are wrapped together here. And some packages have different ways of wrapping, and you'll have strings wrapped with, like a E might be wrapped with a G, but here we go. We got the first two strings. Gold right there is going to go into the E bridge pin hole there. Pull on the string a little bit. Now here's the most important part about all of this. Put that other string away. It's measuring how much string we need to wrap around the tuning post. And so I was taught this years ago. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the tuning post hole pointed this way. Call it off at a 45-degree angle. And I'll show you why. So the tuning hole is like this now. And I'm going to take the first string and come around the back side of it and bring it back towards me. And now this is, again, the most important part about measuring how much string are you going to wrap on that pole. So each string has a different diameter. This is the thickest diameter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go center string here somewhere around the 10th, 11th, 12th fret. And I'm going to put my hand just like this. And that will be my measurement for my first string. And I'm going to pull it all the way through. And I'm going to bring it to where it's just sitting on top of my hand with the fingers all together, and that'll be my measurement for my low E string. And I could use a regular winder like this, but that would take forever, but that's how I would do that. As I'm doing this, I'm going to make sure that my bridge pin stays secure. And I've got this measurement about right here. You can see string is like that. And now I am going to use my winder. I'm going to guide the string by putting my index finger and running the string over my hand and keeping the string taut and pulled tight on the pole as I wind it. And I'm going to make sure the winds go down. So I'll pull the string up. And once I pulled it through, I had crimped the string and pulled it up. So I'll show you on the next one again. And as it gets tighter on my hand, I'm going to switch my hand around. And I'm going to make sure I'm always keeping it taut and pulled on the pole. So I'm going to pull up from underneath and push down with my index finger. Hopefully you can get a decent view of that. And I'm going to wind it. And now I've got my first string on. Now I could wait till the end, or I can do this right away, which would be to cut and remove these. So here's my cutter. I'm just going to cut this. And since I have enough winds, I can just cut it straight off on the post. Put that off to the side and go to the second string, which is A, which is red, which is right here. And we're going to take our next bridge pin, which they're lined up in order here. And we're going to take, there's a little groove in these, and we're going to take the groove and put it on the string side. It's pretty obvious what you're supposed to do there. You'll see it when you go for it. Again, now I'm going to line up the hole in the bridge pin, or not the bridge pin, but in the tuning post. And my hand was flat like this for the E string, but now I'm going to come up just a little bit for the A string. So it seems like an arbitrary measurement, but I'm up just a little bit now. I'm going to pull this through here and over my hand, which I've opened up just a little bit. And then I crimp this. Now the guitar literally is locked in. I can pick it up because of that crimp I just put on the tuning pole. And so it's already locked pretty solidly. And again, I'm not going to use my string winder because that takes longer. I just have this little attachment I got from the online super retailer for a really reasonable price, and a little cheap hand drill. And I'm going to hold up a guitar. I've got the guitar string over my hand, and I'm holding it down with my index finger, keeping it tight on the pole, and I'm going to wind it down the pole. I'm not touching the guitar other than to hold it up, and the string is not touching the nut or anything, but I'm winding the string down. Now once it gets kind of tight in my hand, I'm going to switch the grab, put the fingers underneath, and then push down with my index finger and continue the wind until it gets to the nut. And it's winding downwards right now. Same deal. I'm just going to chop these off since we're going right for it. And we have enough winds. It's not going to unwind or anything. It's going to have a good solid tuning stability. Now our next string is a D string, and it's black. So, and we're still working on the wound strings right now. There's the unwound. And we have the wound strings, and we're going to do the black one, which is the D string. And so you want to get these apart, you unwind each way from two sides of the string, and then eventually it'll just pop out like that. Make sure you don't bend the strings, because that'll kind of wreck them, and they might break when you put them on. So we're on our third string already, and we take, again, there's a groove in the bridge pin. We're going to take the groove, face it towards the string, push the ball down with the pin, and pull up on the string, and that should hold it in nicely. Sometimes they come loose. We're going to align the tuning pole to where the hole is going like this, off at a 45. We're going to come back around from the back. This is called 3 per side. We have 3 tuners per side on the headstock. And okay, so we went like this with the E, we went like this with the A. With the D, we're going to open up a little bit more, and we're going to pull through, and we're going to put the crimp on the string. Once that crimp's on there, the guitar will pick up because it's already locked in with that crimp. When I bend the string up is what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start winding this one. Here we go. Now I switched my hand again. That same method. I have it over, and then I switch my hand. Now I'm pulling up with my fingers underneath, but I'm also pushing down with my index and guiding it to wind down the pole. I'm going to keep it tight. Once it gets in there, put it in the groove, let it go. And we're going to cut that one right off as well, right away. We could do that at the end, but if we do it now, they're out of the way. We're halfway done. We have strings that aren't tuned or anything. We have a guitar that probably could use a fret polishing, but otherwise it's really cleaned up and it's ready to sound good and go once we get the rest of these strings on. And I'll show you how to tune it up properly. So same idea, we're going to do just kind of a little backwards here. The strings are wound to the inside, as you see here. I'm winding the strings from the inside. If I wound them to the outside, that would be wrong. So they're all on the inside, which is this area. And the winds are going with the winder. You're winding to the left. So I've got this one now, just the exact opposite. Now I've got a thinner string. It's still a wound string. I did this for the E. This was the A, then the D. Now the G, I'm going to go a little wider. Open my hand up, pull it through, and maybe leave a little more. And put the crimp on it. Same thing. I can pick it up. It's crimped. It's locked in. It's pretty solidly locked. I'm going to come back and counterclockwise this one. Winding it down the pole. Guiding it. A few more winds here. We'll talk about that in a moment. Nope. Back on there. The sound hole. There we go. Okay. So, in the groove, what you're going to notice here is the winds. For the E string 2 or 3, for the A string 3 or 4, for the D string 4 or 5, and on the G string we have about 5 or 6 winds. And it's just arbitrary. Just has to be enough to make it work. Can't be too few because then the strings will slip. So that's why we're doing the right hand measuring trick here. Now we've got 2 more strings to go. We just did the gold and the red and the black and the green. We have 2 more strings. We have a B, which is purple, and then the E, which is silver. So I'm going to take the purple string, and again, I'm unwinding. When this string is wound up, there's 2 areas where you have to untwist. So I'm untwisting the end without the ball, and then the end with the ball, and then the strings will pop open. Just be careful. Don't want them to hit you in the eyes or anything like that. So purple is our B string. Take our bridge pin over here. We have our last string E over here. We're going to leave it ready to go. Now we're doing the B. And we're going to set the tuning post up at a 45-degree angle off this way. Once we get that done, feed the string. Now, E string, A string, D string, G string. Now we're going to go pretty wide for the B and then the E string because we want more wind so the string will not slip while we're playing. So I am somewhat open with the hand like that, and the string is sitting up here on my thumb, and I'm at a 45 down here, and I'm going to crimp that string. Same deal, I can pick up the guitar. No reason to do that, but now watch what I do here to hold this like this, and I'm going to get my tuner and wind this one down. I'm just guiding the wind down. It's relatively easy. It almost does itself. As long as you keep it taut and pulled on. We're getting a lot more winds though because the string is thin. If you don't have enough winds, the string will just slip and stay out of tune and might even fly right off on you. So getting lots of winds here. Okay. There's the B string. I'm going to snip that off. One string to go, and that's silver on the E string here. We're going to get right at it. Now this one needs the most wind so it doesn't come loose or go out of tune while you're playing. And in this case, we're going to set up the 45-degree angle on the tuning post so the hole's going like this. And I got to go back the other way. Here it comes. And these, as you see, are wound to the inside. If we wind to the outside, we've done something wrong. Last one. Come on, get in there. There it is. So now my hand is going to be all the way open. We're E, A, D, G, B. And now we're just going to crank our hand all the way open and push that string up, pull it through, and that'll give us enough winds to keep this string locked in and tight. So it doesn't go out of tune, doesn't slip off. But once again, I'm keeping everything taut and pulled tight as it winds. That's very important. This isn't something I just figured out by myself. I had people show me this over the years, and it's always worked out well for me. When I was a beginner, I used to break strings and wind not enough string, and all kinds of goofy stuff would happen. I didn't know what I was doing. So there we go. We got all our strings on our final cut. Okay, so strings are on, and the first thing I'm going to do here is stretch them and make sure that the bridge pins are all solidly in. And so by stretching them, this is kind of a important thing. Otherwise, they keep stretching as you're playing. And so I'm holding a string down here in case it comes loose, and holding it here in case it comes loose from there, which is testing the fitness of the string. At the same time, I'm stretching the string, pulling down and pushing up. I actually bought a tool for this, but it only lasted for a couple of times, so I do this by hand. And I suppose if you're on tour or something like that, you might want a tool to do all this. So I'm just being very careful at the nut of the guitar because I don't want to go back and forth and break it. And so I'm stretching the string, stretching each one of the strings, making sure that the bridge pins are staying in, and taking a little bit of the flex out of the metal. And that'll give you tuning stability right away. So each string is getting a stretch, and as we tune up, we're going to do a little bit more stretching. So the first thing we do, we're right at an E note. That was pretty close for our first string. There's our A string, and I'm going to stretch it once I bring it to tune. It'll go flat. I'm going to go back and do the same thing with the E string. It's staying pretty close already. The A, I'm going to come back at. I have a tuner off camera here I'm looking at. As I tune, I'm somewhat keeping the strings, my hands over the strings in case they do come loose, which is not a likelihood if you've done everything right. And so I'll keep going back. Every time I tighten a string, I'll go back, hit the other strings, bring them back into tune. Now we're up to the G. I'm going to tune it a little sharp, and then I'm going to stretch it. And now it's close to tune. Stretch it a little more while it's tuned. There we are, sitting in our G. Come back at the lower strings again. Lose a little bit. Every time we tighten up the other strings, these will go a little bit loose and go a little flat. We'll bring them back up. Again, pretty stable. G's looking good. Now we're on the B. Since we're there, we'll get the high E. Stretch the B again. Stretch it again. Let's go get the E, stretch it. Go back, hit the bottom, which has gone flat. Do it again. Now we're in tune. Are sounding pretty good. So here's what it looks like. You notice there's 3 winds on the low E, 3 or 4 on the A, 4 or 5 on the D, and then we get up with the strings getting thinner. We want to add more winds so it stays secure. So the G looks like it has about 5 or 6, and then the B looks like it has about 8, and the high E has about 10. And they're nice and crisp, clean winds because we guided it. The neck looks nice and clean. The guitar still could use a little polishing and cleanup, but otherwise the neck looks 1,000 times better than it did before we started. And that's how you tune a guitar and set it up with new strings. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section, and we'll leave it at that for today.